College football playoff season is actually officially here. Bowl season's officially here. Welcome to the Juice Alert, guys. It is your Ghiman Mckinney, your boy, back here with another video for you guys. And today we'll be talking about and breaking down all the New Year's Six Bowl games. So without further ado, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, keep hitting me up in the comment section, share this video with your friends. Let's get right into it, guys. Starting off with the Orange Bowl and one of the college football playoff matchups. You got Oklahoma and the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Alabama does have 3 players that are suspended for this game, but I don't think this will have a huge impact on the game. These players don't have big-time roles on the team. But I do think Alabama's going to win this game by a couple of touchdowns. Oklahoma, to me, is just not enough of a complete team to beat Alabama. They have the quarterback, they have the offense to compete with Alabama, but their defense is one of the 120th best defenses in the nation. That is absolutely atrocious, guys. Their pass defense is like 128th in the country, something like that. That's terrible. You know, this Oklahoma defense, I'm wondering if they can legitimately stop Alabama's offense. I just don't really see it. I think they'll always stop them about 2, maybe 3 times. But I do think Oklahoma's going to, you know, make this a game for a while. I think it'll be close for about 3 quarters. You know, Oklahoma did make some strides last week versus Texas on defense. Well, not last week, but in the Big 12 title game. You get my point. Marquise Brown's health is very key to me if he's a full go. Like I said, I do think this game will be relatively close for about 3 quarters. I do expect Oklahoma. If I'm Oklahoma, what I'm winning the coin toss. I'm going down trying to score a touchdown because I need to play with a lead if I'm Oklahoma. You know, I do think Oklahoma's similar to the Georgia game last year. Georgia versus Oklahoma, that great Rose Bowl game. If you didn't watch that game, you're crazy. But either way, you know, I think they'll be up at the half. You know, Kyler Murray's going to give Alabama fits for a while. But I think in the second half, you know, Nick Saban and the Alabama defense will make adjustments. You know, similar to that Georgia game last year, they came out, you know, on fire versus the Georgia defense. But in the second half, you know, those SEC coaches make adjustments. Oklahoma's defense is worse than last year. They will not be able to stop anybody. If you get 2 stops in a row in Oklahoma, maybe even 3, you have a great chance of winning that game because their defense can't stop nobody. They can't stop me, okay? Their linebackers are terrible. If you watch them, they get no rush on the passer. Their run defense sucks. You know, they're a terrible tackling team. They are not great in coverage. They're just not very good on defense at all. They're a terrible, terrible defense. But, you know, Saban does struggle versus mobile quarterbacks. I think if Oklahoma, if they're going to win this game, they need to win. They need to not turn the ball over at all. They cannot go 3 and out more than about twice. You know, they also need to win the penalty battle. You know, they can't penalize themselves. They also need to win the special teams battle. And they also maybe need to come up with a trick player too, maybe a fake punt, you know, an onside kick, something like that, to come away and steal this game. I think if Oklahoma's going to win this game, they're going to need to score at least in the 50s. I do not see that happening. I think Alabama's ultimately a way better team on defense. On offense, the gap's not as big, but, you know, I just think Alabama's going to roll in the second half and make the adjustments, and Oklahoma won't be able to do nothing about it. Now let's get to Notre Dame and Clemson, the second playoff game. Yes, I think this is a tight game, guys. I started to pick Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans, sorry. I really wanted to pick you guys for the upset, but I just can't do it. I think Clemson is the better team. You know, Dexter Lawrence is suspended for this game. There's 2 other guys, but they're not really important to the team. You know, they don't really do a whole lot for the team. But Dexter Lawrence is a great defensive player. I do think this will cause Notre Dame's running backs to have a little bit better day because he's like 350 pounds, and he eats up a lot of blocks. I do think Clemson, like I said, is the better team. You know, Ian Book, I expect him to have a big day. I really do. Ian Book in the first quarter is completing over 80% of his passes. Trevor Lawrence in the first quarter of games is completing about 55% of his passes. Trevor Lawrence, obviously a very talented freshman, has NFL talent written all over him. But, you know, he is a little shaky at times, you know. I think that Notre Dame will start fast. I do expect Clemson, you know, however, to come out, you know, and weather the storm. They're experienced enough. I think Travis Etienne has a very, very big game. He's a great, dynamic running back. I just think Clemson's D-line and athletes are a little bit too much for Notre Dame. I think they're going to get after Notre Dame. I think Clemson's D-line will cause about maybe 1 or 2 turnovers. I think the Clemson's ultimately going to win, you know. Clemson's secondary is very, very suspect, though. You know, versus South Carolina, they allowed 500 passing yards and allowed 500 passing touchdowns. You know, that's terrible. That's absolutely bad, you know. Versus Texas A&M, they allowed 430 yards through the air. So Clemson's secondary is very, very suspect. However, I do think that, you know, because Notre Dame, they struggled a little bit versus Pittsburgh. They struggled versus Northwestern. They struggled versus Ball State. They also struggled versus USC. Those are all not very, very good teams. Those are all teams that are not anywhere near Clemson. So I do think Notre Dame will compete in this game. They have about over a month to prepare, but I just think that Clemson's the better team and will win. Now, guys, let's get to the Rose Bowl. Yes, the Ohio State Buckeyes, you know, my team. Hey, you already know. But either way, I think we should have been in the playoffs, but that's neither here nor there. By the way, go back and watch those previous videos, you know, if you're new to the channel, about Ohio State should have made the playoffs. But either way, you know, there's an emotional advantage for Ohio State in this game. This is Urban Meyer's last game. As an Ohio State Buckeye head coach, after 7 years, I think the players will be up and emotional for this game. They're going to want to play for Urban Meyer and send him out with a bang. Washington, to me, just can't keep up with Ohio State. They're 83rd in points per game, and that's versus crappy Pac-12 defenses mostly. You know, only 4 times in 13 games versus the crappy Pac-12 defenses has Washington scored over 30 points. And, you know, the Pac-12 is the second worst conference in America behind the ACC to me. You know, Washington potentially can make this a game as they're 5th in the country defensively, but once again, who have they played? They've not played a great offense all year. The only great offense they played all year has really been Washington State. Now, Washington State's a decent team, but, you know, they're nowhere near Ohio State to me. You know, they have great DBs. They play a lot of they can play some man-to-man coverage. I expect them to mix in some man and zone coverage versus the Ohio State wide receivers as the key matchup. But I also do think Dywane Haskins will be up for this game, as this may be his last game as a Buckeye since Justin Herbert, the Oregon quarterback, is now declaring for the draft. I just think Ohio State's the way better team. They scored 63 points versus a Michigan team that has way more NFL players than Washington does. Myles Gaskin, to me, can have a big day for Washington, but Washington just does not have the weapons to exploit Ohio State's weaknesses on defense, so I think Ohio State will roll in that game. Now, let's get to, you know, UCF and LSU. Yeah, that's right. You heard it right. I got UCF winning, and I've been critical of UCF, guys. You know, I think UCF's just going to be very motivated for this game. This is very similar to the UCF game versus Auburn last year, where UCF beat Auburn. You know, Greedy Williams is not playing for LSU. He's prepping for the NFL draft. I understand that, you know, but LSU is 30th in rushing defense, which isn't bad, you know, considering there's a lot of great college football teams out there. There's about 120-some, 130. But I think that UCF is going to use the blueprint that the Florida Gators used to beat, you know, the LSU. They had over 200 rushing yards in that game. The Florida Gators did when they beat LSU. I think UCF's going to do some of the same things. I think they're going to try to run the ball very, very effectively. And their backup quarterback, Darryl Mack Jr., has played well. You know, in the absence of McKenzie Milton, he had over 300 yards. In that win versus Memphis. You know, to me, Joe Burrow's a good quarterback, but he's not a game changer, guys. He just isn't. LSU's offense is 45th in the nation. That's even with scoring 70 points in 7 overtimes versus Texas A&M. Now, you think you scored at least 100 points, but they didn't. You know, and by the way, these LSU fans are funny, man. You know, the Ohio State Buckeyes gave you a good quarterback for once. Joe Burrow was enrolled at the Ohio State University. He transferred because he couldn't be out Dywane Haskins. LSU fans be like, oh, man, Joe Burrow, man, he's a dog, man. Joe Burrow's a difference maker. He's an absolute dog, man. These LSU quarterbacks, these LSU fans, they seen a quarterback in ages, man. They think Joe Burrow is the second coming of Joe Montana. Joe Burrow's a good quarterback, but he ain't elite. So, you know, UCF has a top 5 offense in the nation as well. I understand they haven't really played anybody, but I just think they'll be motivated for this game. They feel they need some more respect, you know. I think they're right where they need to be at number 8. They think they should potentially be in the playoffs. They've been undefeated, but they played nobody. But I do think UCF will be up for this game and will win. Let's get to the Peach Bowl and you got the Michigan Wolverines in that game. Wait, when's the last time we saw the Michigan Wolverines? Who did they lose to? Yes, Michigan, you're still a great team to me. You know, I clown you a whole lot, but I'll give you credit. You're a pretty good team. You know, I think this is a mismatch for Florida. You know, Michigan, I just think they're way better than Florida. You know, they're very similar to Georgia, Michigan is, in the fact they love to run the football. Now, Karan Higdon will not be playing in the bowl game. He's prepping for the NFL draft, I believe. But they also play great defense. You know, Michigan's cornerbacks love to play man-to-man coverage. I expect them to do that. And, you know, versus Ohio State, the man-to-man coverage didn't work. But versus Florida, there's no wide receiver or, you know, tight end that I can see that can exploit matchups versus the Michigan press coverage corners. You know, this is the closest thing that Florida will see to Georgia all year. And Georgia absolutely annihilated Florida when they played them. You know, Devin Bush, Rashawn Gary, and Karan Higdon, like I said, will not be playing. So this could potentially make things a little interesting for Florida. But the last time we saw Michigan, they got 63 points hung on them. Don Brown is one of the best defensive coordinators in football now versus elite offenses like Alabama or Oklahoma. His scheme does not work. Versus everybody else, probably except like 2 or 3, maybe 4 teams, his defense is going to dominate. You know, Michigan's out to prove a point. And guys, you know, Michigan is still a very good team. For about 10 straight weeks, they ran college football. They were a top 3 team for about 10 weeks. You know, after that Notre Dame loss, they've lost to 2 great teams. Notre Dame, who's in the playoffs competing against Clemson, and Ohio State, who just won the Big Ten with 1 loss, and that's the second best conference in the nation. Ohio State's a top 6 team. So Michigan's lost to very, very good teams. You know, they got blown out by Florida, but not Florida, Ohio State. But you know, you get the deal. Florida lost to UK by about 3 touchdowns. They also lost to Missouri, and they got dominated by Georgia. Florida's 32nd in offense. Michigan's a top 3 team. They were a top 3 team for about 10 straight weeks. I expect them to roll. Now, let's get to the very final bowl game, and you got the Georgia Bulldogs and the Texas Longhorns. Hey, our SEC homers and Georgia fans still crying, saying, "Oh man, we ain't making playoffs because we are 2 lost, non-conference champion. We ain't make playoffs, mommy." Shut up, you guys. You're crazy if you think Georgia should be in the playoffs. But either way, guys, you know, I just think Georgia is better than Texas overall. You know, at quarterback, they're better. Running back, they're better. Wide receiver, I think Texas has a little bit of an advantage. Tight end, Georgia. O-line, Georgia. Secondary, Georgia. Linebackers, maybe Texas. D-line, Georgia. Now, there's an emotional letdown in this game for Georgia not making the playoffs. I think that Texas can potentially make it a game, but Texas lost to Maryland, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Oklahoma. Most of them are not as good as Georgia. In fact, none of them are as good as Georgia. I expect Georgia to come out and dominate and prove, you know, that they're ticked off about why they didn't make the playoffs. But that's pretty much it for this. Tell me if your college football playoff team won a bowl game so far. You know, tell me who you think is going to win these bowl games, who you think is going to make the national title game, you know, and who's going to win these games. You know, guys, comment. Tell me why I'm right. Tell me why I'm wrong. Like this video. Share it with your friends. This has been your boy, Ghiman Mckinney. And go Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm out here.